before we get into how to keep your kid off the bully radar, let's talk about, is your child a bully? Because when I talk to principals at schools, when they call me and they ask me about their, what to do about certain situations, or I come and I speak to their school, one of the problems, one of the biggest issues with bullying they have is when they confront the parent that has a child that bullies. Oh no, my kid doesn't do that. He's being bullied by other kids. And that's a big issue, because now if they can't admit there's a problem, denial stops the process. If they can't admit there's a problem, then how can we help this person? So guess what happens? The people that come to my office are the victims of bullies, when the bullies are the ones that should be there. Because they've got low self-confidence, they have low self-esteem. There's things out of control in their home. And I know this because I've been on both sides of bullying. When there was domestic violence in my home and everything, and I was afraid of my father and he was abusive, guess what? I couldn't take it out on anybody at home, or I'd get the crap beat out of me. So guess what I did? I took it out on the playground, on the kids there. And then when my parents divorced and I moved away from there, I got bullied because I was the new kid on the block. So boy, did I get an appreciation for what I did to those kids. And I wasn't a big guy, by the way. I'm 6 foot now, but I didn't have my growth spurt until I think 10th grade, end of 10th grade. So I know both sides of this, and I know that because of the stuff that was out of control at home, I was able to take control in elementary school. And I was in the principal's office quite a bit. And then when the divorce was settled, the domestic violence was gone, and the home stabilized, guess what happened? I never went back to the principal's office. I stopped acting out because I didn't see one of my parents bullying my mom or bullying me. Do you understand? It stopped. I didn't bully anybody anymore after that. You know what? Before the Industrial Revolution, did we have adolescence? Did we even have it? You went from being a child to being an adult. Did you know that? You were a child? When did they get married back then? When did kids? 14? That's right. They celebrate bar mitzvah at 13, right? They say you're a man at 13. They still do that, by the way. How confusing that must be here in the United States when they say, okay, you get home and it's past their bedtime and the dad goes, hey, what are you doing up? But Dad, I'm a man. Don't talk back to me. Go to bed. But Dad, I'm a man. Well, can I have a sip of your beer? No, you're not old enough. Can I vote? No. Can I get a job? No. So where do they get their self-confidence from? Before the Industrial Revolution, guess where they got it from? They got self-confidence from making their own food, working on the farm, and having a part in the family. If you faked being sick back then, guess what? Well, I guess you're not going to be able to get your food for today. I guess you're going to need to get some rest then. Because if you don't work, you don't eat. That's what happened back then. So everybody had, for the most part, they had self-confidence because they took care of things. But now they can't get a job until they're 15 or 16. So we really want to get these kids involved in community service. Let them work for Habitat for Humanity. And I like community service where they see the same people every time they go. Because they're seeing the people at Habitat, they're seeing the people that are going to get the home, and they're seeing the next family that's going to get the next home. And they're working with them for hundreds of, or let's say, maybe 100 hours or so, okay? And then they get to see that person being transformed, and they're having a part of it. Does that make somebody feel good when you change somebody's life? What do you think? This is interactive. Does that help? Yes, okay, thank you, yes. Maybe you have one parent that's restrictive and the other parent that's passive. So guess what happens? The kid goes to the passive parent to get what they want, then the parents are fighting, so they're distracted, and then the kid gets to do what he wants to do. That's called triangulation, okay? So we got to have consistent, clear boundaries. Some of you, that if you're divorced and you have the other parent, like, well, what am I going to do about this other parent? Get a parent coordinator, okay? Because this is going to be a big problem for your child if they don't have consistent boundaries. It's going to be a big issue. Okay, how to hear reports. Let's say somebody's coming to talk to you. Hey, I think your kid's a bully. Well, it's nice if the person says, I think your kid's a bully, instead of saying, your kid's a bully. And it's even better to say, I think your child is bullying, rather than making that a part of their identity and say they're a bully. That's just like AA. That's one part of Alcoholics Anonymous I do not like. My name is Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. I just said what I'm struggling with. Now, it's okay. You do need to come out of denial with whatever you're struggling with, but you don't have to say that that's who you are. I'm not a drink. I'm not, I know that the drink itself isn't the problem, but that's not who I am. My name's Jim. That's who I am. Okay? So we don't need to say you're a bully. We can say you're having trouble with bullying. Boys have a hard time understanding feelings. A lot of boys do. So I tell them, feelings is like food. Food comes in your mouth, and then it comes out where? You don't have to say it. It's okay. Okay? But feelings come in your eyes and your ears. What you hear and see creates feelings. And we need to get those out by saying how we felt. I was mad today when this person said that. Well, you know what? I'd be mad too. Having somebody to talk to about their day. So these guys don't understand that these things stay inside, and if they don't deal with it, they're going to be the ones becoming alcoholics as a teenager and getting in fights at the bar over nothing, or talking to the licensed bartender about their problems, and they won't even remember what they said. It's kind of funny because they won't go to a counselor to tell their problems, a lot of guys, but they'll tell somebody at the bar they don't even know, right? And they don't even remember they said it. So we need to teach guys it's okay. I did a consultation at a school, and afterwards we had a parent meeting, and it was a 5th grade mom. She said, my 5th grade boy, learned that it's okay to say how he feels. What are some signs of our child being bullied? First, you need to identify it, because how many of you guys find out that your kid's been bullied, but it happened for so long, but they didn't say anything? Anybody? Okay. So just one person? Okay. It happens a lot, doesn't it? It happens a lot. And then you're like, why didn't you tell me? Is that what you said? Why didn't you tell me? Well, I was afraid you'd go down to the school and talk to the principal, and then they'd find out I told my mommy, and then they would tease me. So here are some things that it's really important to do. Whenever I have kids come in that are victims, they basically have a target on their forehead. I believe it's 50% of kids are bullied by the time they finish school. So half of the kids in school are bullied at one point. 10% repeatedly. 10% are picked on repeatedly. They're picking on somebody who's overweight. They're picking on some kid with an acne problem. They're picking on them for sexual orientation, for their race, whatever it might be. They're picking on them, or just their teeth. Buck teeth, or it's just crazy the stuff that they're doing to the kids. And then of course the cyberbullying. How many of you guys have a problem with that? With cyberbullying? Anybody so far having that issue? No? It's a big problem. It's really easy to bully on Facebook. Really easy. I had a kid from Oviedo High School, and this was several years ago, but he was on the basketball team, I think it was JV, and he got picked on, and the guys would say, you're a loser. The guys on his team said, you're a loser. You suck. I don't know why they put you on this team. And they did this to him over and over again. And so he finally, as he went to school, he had his head down. So then I asked him, I said, what if you just said, you're right, I do suck? And he goes, what? Why would I say that? And I'm like, just go with what they say. He goes, I don't know, Jim. Just say, you know what, you're right, I do suck. And then say, I wish I could play as good as you. Do you think you could help me with my 3-point shot? You got a great 3-point shot. You think you could help me with mine and open gym? He goes, I don't know, Jim. So guess what? On Facebook, the guy instant message him on Facebook. And he did. He told him that. And there was a 5-minute pause from the guy. And the guy goes, okay, I'll see you in open gym. So the next day, the guy comes into school like this. The kid sees him, the basketball player that's constantly saying he's a loser. Hey, man, I'll see you in open gym. And then he came back the next week. He told me, and his mom said he goes to school with his head up. He's looking down the hallways. He knows how to roll with things. His confidence is up. And, the kid didn't stop messing with him. But they messed with him because he was showing his sadness. He was showing his anger. He was showing his frustration. So it's really important that we're careful about that. How many of you guys get shocked because your kids have a repeating behavior and you just keep going, I can't believe it. How many times do I have to tell you not to? Raise your hand if you keep saying that. Raise your hand. Okay, now let's go back for a second. Let's talk about human nature. What are some common factors we know about humans? Go ahead. This is interactive. What are some common things we know? Okay, we repeat what comes natural, so whatever patterns we get into, it's tough to break. That's a good point. What else? Do we know with human nature that we make mistakes? That we're imperfect? But then when you act surprised, you're like, oh, I can't believe this. You did this again? How many times I have to tell you not to do this? And then, of course, they see that you're trying to stop eating those Snickers bars, and you're trying to lose weight, and you're telling them not to do it. And they're just looking at you like, are you nuts? Are you crazy? But you're acting very judgmental when you act surprised when they make a mistake. Do you understand? Are you with me? You really are. You're acting judgmental. You're telling them how humans make mistakes when you're eating your Snickers bar. Well, we make mistakes, right? But then you act surprised when they keep messing up. So what we need to do is we need to go, all right, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about what can we learn from this. If there's a good consequence from whatever they did, sometimes that's a good enough lesson, isn't it? So don't be surprised, and guess what? You'll be what's called approachable. And then they can talk to you about these things. And they won't wait so long to get help, okay? A lot of kids that get picked on are all about themselves, too, and they talk about themselves, and they get picked on for that. There's the quiet ones that get picked on because they're a little different, or they don't dress cool, whatever that means. I was just talking to a guy who has trouble. He's been charged with dealing drugs, and it happened to him actually more than once. And he keeps going back and partying, and we finally figured it out. He said, whenever I'm talking to my friends at the party, whoever's not there is a loser. So he was going to the party because he didn't want to be called a loser. So he was in the cool crowd, and he was afraid of what? Being a loser. He was afraid of being bullied. How many of you guys have seen kids? How many of you guys have heard of your kids getting bullied by one of their good friends when they're with somebody who bullies? But they're so nice when they're by themselves with your child. Why is that? Have you guys ever heard keep your friends close and your enemies? Yeah. So even like dogs that are being abused, they get really close to the person that's abusive because it's really hard for the master to kick them if they're right up against their leg. So even the dogs know that. So a lot of these kids that are bullies, some of your kids are figuring out, I'm going to hang out with the kid that's bullying so that I don't get kicked, so I don't get bullied. So we need to teach them to make their own posse, and if they have people around them, that's one way to get off the bully's radar.